no, I'm in a different location and I'm actually in a different country. So I have come to Italy and I'll be here for around 3.5 months to au pair for a couple of families. Now, this change for me was quite daunting. Um, to be honest, all change for me is extremely hard. When I went to university for the first time, and also when I went to university for my second year as well, I was extremely homesick. The first time it lasted maybe 2.5 weeks. The second time, not as much, but I was still pretty homesick. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. It was really, really hard for me. And as I've gotten older and dealt with different changes and more changes, I still struggle with change, even though that kind of first big change of going to university will still kind of be in my mind the worst kind of change. But yeah, I've experienced every time I experience change, I really quite struggle, whether that's beforehand, and also when I get there, I also struggle. This was also particularly bad when I started my first kind of like graduate job after university and I was working in a boarding school. I really struggled from the transition between being a student to not being a student anymore. And that was really tough for me. And I didn't feel like properly myself again until a good few months into that job, which was really, really hard as well. And that whole change was just really daunting and difficult. But I got through it, and that's all that matters. Now, this specific change for me was daunting because I've never been an au pair before. Even though I've got lots of experience working with children, I've never been an au pair before. I've never lived in the home of somebody else, looking after children, helping them learn English, etc. Also, why it was quite hard for me is because the families who I am au pairing for have had multiple au pairs in the past. They've had good ones, they've had okay ones, they've had not very good ones, and that's what really made me feel quite pressured because they know what to expect from an au pair. They know what they want, and I'm kind of putting this pressure on myself to make sure I meet that expectation for them, to make sure that I am a good enough au pair. And that kind of makes me really nervous and anxious as well. They're not putting any pressure on me whatsoever. It's all me and my own thoughts. Also, I'm in a country where I can't speak the language very well. I do know some Italian, and I can get by here and there. Like yesterday, I went to a coffee shop, a cafe, and I ordered a coffee and asked for the toilet, and it was fine, and I could do that, and it was okay. But I don't understand what's being said in conversations, and this is something that really does make me anxious whenever I go on holiday to a country that I can't speak the language. I feel this immense kind of shame and anxiety that I don't feel like I can communicate with people because that's where I feel like I have I love communicating with people. I love being able to understand what people mean and all of that. So just being in a country where I don't know the language, it makes me feel very nervous. Also, I'm away from my family. I've been with them for the last 3 months. I had an incredible time back at home. It was so much fun. Had a really good routine back at home, and now that's all gone out the window, obviously. And I'm away from them, and I'm not far away. I've been further away before, but I'm still, in a different country completely. I'm away from friends. I don't have any friends here as of yet. Hopefully, I can make some other au pair friends. And I'm not even like that close to a town or city centre. I went for a really long walk yesterday and I'm not really close to anything. So that's also a struggle for me because I'm used to being at home where I can literally walk 10 minutes, I'm at the gorgeous cliff tops, I can sit down and read my book in a nice, peaceful location. Or another 10 minutes, I'm in a nice park or in a nice field or wherever. Whereas here, I'm going to have to find my places that I feel comfortable and content that aren't too far away. And I've also got to just figure out the whole bus system. Like you've got to buy a bus you've got to buy a bus ticket at a shop. You can't just buy a ticket on the bus and all those little things like that. And to get into Rome, I've got to get three modes of transport. So it's just a lot to think about. And that's what was very daunting for me. And thinking about this now, I'm getting kind of nervous and stressed, but it's all okay because things will figure themselves out. And even though I was freaking out before I left to come here, what has helped me deal with this change now that I am here is having little to no expectations. And I truly believe that this is why I struggled so much in the past because before I would arrive to a new place or go to somewhere else, I would have all these expectations in my head. This is what my room's going to be like. This is what I'm going to do. This is what the people are going to be like. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. And I was having all these horrible, like negative, anxious thoughts before I arrived, all these expectations. And I built up this big idea in my head. And when things weren't the way that I had thought they were going to be, whether for better or for worse, I freaked out. And what I've done this time is I haven't done that at all. I haven't even been thinking like, what is my room going to be like? Am I going to have an ensuite? What are the children going to be like? What is it going to be like living in someone else's place, etc., etc. I would have those little thoughts, and I definitely had them at the beginning. But as it got closer and closer, I knew that I needed to dispel those thoughts to remain calm and remain myself and be confident and bubbly and helpful to the parents and to the children, etc. And I've only had, 1 day being an au pair so far. That was yesterday. And I'm going to do it again for the second time this afternoon. But this has just been 1 day. And I've been here for 2 nights now. But yeah, I'm just trying to remain calm and serene. So this idea of having no expectations also helped me when I went to the summer camp that I work at in Canada. The first time, the night before, I was crying to my mum, begging her, please, I don't want to go, I don't want to go. And this is a recurring thing that happens every time I go somewhere new. It happened before I came here. I was crying, I was saying, I don't want to go, I don't want to do this. When I put on a show as a director once, a few hours before, I was crying in my room being like, I don't want to do this is too stressful. When that stress builds up, I just break down and I cry and I say, I don't want to do it anymore. I just want to give up. Obviously, that's not a good mindset to have at all. But what helped me once I arrived at the camp, even though I was really nervous to go beforehand, is I'd never been to a summer camp. I had no expectations. I had no idea what was going to happen. I had no idea what pre-camp meant. I had no idea what we would do throughout camp. And because I had no expectations, I was able to go into the job completely blind. And when things turned out better than I ever could have imagined, I had the best summer ever. And which is why I keep returning every year since. So from now on, any change or anything new I try, I'm going to try to have little expectations and just see how it goes, because then my anxiety reduces and my mind isn't full of what could happen. My mind has time to breathe and relax and be in the current moment. And that's what's so important about this. When you have change, you shouldn't be thinking what it is going to be or what it could be, because you don't know what it could be. It could turn out to be completely different to what you thought. So having little expectations really just sets your mind at ease. And then once you get into that moment of change, you deal with it then, head first, in that moment when you need to. Like yesterday when I went to the cafe, I needed the toilet so badly. I really needed to pee. And I was like, I'm scared to go into the cafe and ask for a toilet, even though I knew the words in Italian, the toilet, right? But I was like, I need to go. If I don't go now, I'm going to be running back home, getting lost, probably going to be wetting myself. So I went into the cafe and I asked, Il bagno, per favore? And the woman was really nice. She pointed to the bathroom, and I did it. And I faced my fear, and it didn't matter that I was nervous or scared or didn't know what to say, because she didn't know how I was feeling. She didn't know that I was feeling that way. And if I felt confident enough to just ask her where the toilet is, she would show me, and it'd be absolutely fine. So I faced that moment head on. And instead of thinking about that 2 weeks ago, being like, oh my God, how am I going to communicate with people when I go to a cafe? Just get to that moment. And when that moment arises, deal with it then. So that's what I'm going to be trying to do from now on, here on out, because it worked and it helped when I was at camp for the first time. And now it's working and it's helping when I'm here in Italy for the first time being an au pair. So let's embrace change. Let's say yes to things. Get out of our comfort zone and be excited for new. Because without change, how will we grow? Thank you very much for watching. I'm sorry if it all felt a little bit rambly at some points. It's kind of getting passionate in this train of thought. So thank you so much for watching, and thank you for watching to the end. If you did, I'll be back next week with another video. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.